Hey, my name is Andrew Petrovics, and I'm going to show you in this video my top 3 reasons why I think you should be using enums in TypeScript. If you don't know what enums are, that's okay. You're going to learn about them in this video. So let's get to it. The first reason why I think you should be using enums in TypeScript is because, as the name implies, they are enumerable. And to understand the benefits of what it means to be enumerable, it's best demonstrated with an example. So let's imagine that you are building a website for an online store, and that store sells T-shirts, and those T-shirts have sizes: small, medium, large. And you're going to want to keep track of a user's selected size as well as display all of those options in some sort of drop-down box. So typically, what I see now and how this was done before enums is people would create a type, let's call it sizes, and they would do something like this: small, medium, large. They would set that type to be, hey, it can only be these certain string values. And nothing's wrong with this. It's just that there is a better way. And again, I see this still today, even though we have enums. I see about 90% of the time. So the problem with the first problem is that this is not enumerable. There's no easy way for me to get programmatically, all of these values and loop over them. And so, although this is 3 values in this example, it's not too bad. But as you can imagine, there can be a lot more. You can have 50 of them. And if I wanted to go display all these values to the user, I would actually have to type them all out one by one, because again, there's no way to get these values programmatically. That's not the case with enums. So with enums, it would look something like this. Small, medium, large. It looks really similar, same amount of typing as this approach. But what I can do now is I can enumerate them. And the way I can do that, it's actually really easy. So I can just do object.keys, sizes, and there's this little kind of hack that we have to do. So let's see, I'll just tell you why in just a minute. Let's do is not a number. Number E. Boom, that should actually give us all of these values in an array. And just to make sure, let's actually log it and run it real quick, just to double check. What did I do wrong? So filter is not a number, sizes. Okay, I double negated it. I forgot this is a positive. So boom, there we go. Those are our values. We can enumerate them. As you can imagine, this is going to be very helpful if we have a lot more values and we wanted to loop over these to, display them to a user. So this comes in handy. This is not an edge case. This is something that I come across this scenario very often, probably in at least 50% of the applications I build or maintain. I come across this situation. So for that reason alone, I think you should use enums. Before I get to the second reason, let me kind of explain what this is all about. So if you don't know how enums work, basically in JavaScript, if you do an enum like this without assigning it a value, it's going to look like this. Each of these enums end up being just a number value, just to keep track of it. And so when I did this little filter thing, it's actually going to give me an array of 6 values, 3 of those being these actual string values, and the other 3 being the indexes, which in this case we're not interested in. So that's just kind of like some little background about how it's actually working behind the scenes and why we have to do this filter. It would be nice if we didn't have to do this, if there was a more intuitive way to enumerate them, but it's still one line of code and it way beats having to do this method. So the second reason, though, why I would recommend doing enums is because another situation that I come across often, and to continue with this example, is that we often have these values, in this case, small, medium, large, but we actually want to display something a little bit different to the user. So in this case, let's add a couple extra values. Let's say like extra small and extra large. Often, this isn't the exact value we're going to want to show a user. We're going to want to show them something more, better, extra small or X small, some sort of label that's actually different than this string. So by doing this method, that means we're going to have some other structure, some other map that maps each of these size values to a label. And that's something we're going to have to maintain. So if we want to offer another size in the future, we're going to have to update that structure. And it's just cumbersome. And there's just no reason that we should have to do that. So with enums, it actually makes it really easy to do that. And as I kind of hinted at previously, you can assign a label to it. And this doesn't have to be a string. It can be a number, which it actually is a number if you don't add anything. And it can be other values as well. So let's add that case in. So we want extra small, and we'll say the designer wants for us to show it like this. Extra large. And now I can loop over that I can enumerate over it. And if I wanted to get these values instead of these values, it's really easy. All I have to do is do values instead of keys. And so let's run that real quick and make sure that works as expected. And it does, boom. So that's how easy it is. Again, this is a situation that occurs very often. Pretty much anytime you have a drop down and that drop down is not a straight number, you're going to want to have values and you're going to want to store those values in a database. So this is just a very common scenario I come across often and enums makes it a lot easier. The third reason, which is not quite as big of a deal as the first two reasons, but still worth mentioning, is that when using enums, it makes the code, in my opinion, a lot cleaner and much more straightforward. So continuing on with the example, let's say this is in a drop down, then we're going to want to have some sort of selected size variable. And in this case, so we need to tell Typescript that, hey, this is sizes, not just a string. Let's just say the selected size is, the default one's a small. And let's say way later down in code, let's go and remove this. We've got some sort of function and we want to do a comparison. So if selected size equals small, we'll do something. The two minor issues are that, one, I had to tell Typescript that this was a sizes array. It cannot be implicitly typed, because if I did, then it's going to think it's a string. So not a huge issue, but there's one thing. But the other kind of slightly bigger issue to me is that, if I'm deep down in code, unless I wrote this, which is most of the time not the case, if I'm going through and reading code, then I just, without hovering over this, I'm just going to think it's a string, and it's kind of misleading. And so it'd be nice if there was a way to quickly, when you're quickly reading and scanning code, that this is not a string. It's actually a sizes value. And so with enums, the way that would work is that, so first of all, I do not have to give it a type. It can be implicitly in typed, which is nice. So that's how that would work. And then when I come down here and I want to do a comparison, if I'm coming and I'm scanning code, it's really easy and intuitive to me that you can tell selected size is not a string; it's a size variable. So reason number three is not quite as big of a deal to me as reason number one and two, but still worth mentioning. And so that's pretty much it. These are my top three reasons why I think you should be using enums in TypeScript code as opposed to doing this method right here, which I see again very often. So I hope you found this video useful. Yeah, thanks for watching.